Hi, and welcome to Breaking Bio. I'm Morgan Jackson, a PhD student at the University of Guelph in Ontario, Canada.
Hi, I'm Heidi Parker. I'm a postdoc at the University of Texas at Austin, but right now I'm in Buenos Aires doing a short fellowship in the Favovich Lab.
Hi, I'm Stephen Hamlin, a postdoc at the University of Southern California in Los Angeles.
And you may have noticed that we've been on a bit of a summer hiatus at the moment, but seeing how science, and especially crowdfunding for science, wait for no one, we're coming back with a very special episode with the Miss Possible team, who's being represented today by Janna Eaves from the University of Illinois.
Hi, thank you for having me.
No problem. We're glad to get you into the show here to promote the Miss Possible project. So do you want to tell everybody who's listening a little bit about what Miss Possible is?
Sure. Miss Possible is an educational toy startup. We are working to improve the number of options that girls see for themselves. And we're doing that by creating a series of dolls and an app that goes with them that represent women who did really cool things from history. So we're starting with Marie Curie, Nobel Prize-winning chemist and physicist, and an all-around awesome lady. And we cutified her and made her into a doll that girls can play with and make this connection that she was once a girl and she eventually grew up to do some great things, so I can do that too. And in the app, Marie appears virtually to guide you through some chemistry and physics activities that you can do at home in your own kitchen, and it's sort of like a virtual activity book. So we're combining this inspiration with the skill building to try and help girls reach their dreams.
Yeah, this thing is really awesome. So I had read something about these dolls, and I thought it was amazing. Plus, I'm a U of I alum, so I was really excited. But then I found the Indiegogo link and saw that you guys were, crowdfunding this thing, and so I'm hoping to get my Marie Curie doll. I pledged my money. I'm really excited. I think it's such an awesome thing, and I've played with tons of dolls. A lot of people think that only super girly girls play with dolls and they end up, being stay-at-home moms or, these really ultra girly jobs. But a lot of scientists that I know played with dolls as a kid. I often, it wasn't like I grew up and I wanted to be Barbie, which I think.
Yeah. I definitely played with Barbies myself. And my sister played with Legos, and she was labeled a tomboy. She played with Legos and swords and skateboards. And I don't know, I never really made the connection that it was holding me back or anything, but then I got into engineering, and I noticed that I hadn't built any of the skills that I needed to be here. The spatial awareness, the computer science, like anything. And so I wish I had a doll that sort of that inspired me to be more, or helped me to work on some of that. So it's a little bit of reflection on my own experiences, but I think every girl should have the opportunity.
So how did you choose the lineup of figures that you're including in this original set of dolls?
So we have a bunch of candidates. There are so many amazing women out there, right? But we had to have some sort of criteria. We spent a lot of time thinking about it. What it came down to, a big filter, was they had to be dead enough.
Dead enough?
Just a little dead's not enough. They got to be
a little dead. No, like way dead. Like.
So if the corpse is still warm, then that's bad. But.
So we're dealing with personality rights. Well, something we hadn't expected going into this was like, people have privacy and rights to their privacy, and sometimes you have to pay for that. But if they're over, in some states, it's like 70 years dead, you don't have to pay anything. So that filtered out a lot of current women, which has pros and cons. Current women are more relatable in the sense that they're more modern times, and you don't have to place yourself in like the 19th century in order to understand their struggles. But it turned out it wasn't a problem, because even Marie Curie, who is way dead enough,
she and possibly still glowing.
Possibly. I don't know. I don't know if anyone has checked. You know, we get that all the time when we say we're making a Marie Curie doll. They're like, "Is she gonna glow in the dark?"
Well, I mean, you know, it's a reasonable question.
It is a reasonable question. I think that might be a little morbid. It might actually discourage girls from pursuing science.
Yeah, you just gotta teach them about lab safety, right?
Right. Anyway, so once we filtered out that we had to use some more historical figures, it came down to their stories. So they did amazing things, but can we show that they overcame, that it might not necessarily be easy to pursue science or an education or whatever you love, but they jumped through a lot of hoops to get there, especially Marie. She grew up in a place where girls weren't allowed to get an education, right? So she had to sort of dodge that system and eventually wound up with her own lab. So it is surmountable. And if she can do it, then why can't we?
I mean, when you say things like that, I'm thinking of stories of women. I'm trying to think of one who received the Nobel Prize but couldn't get a job as a professor. This was back in like the 20s to 40s. And the name escapes me. But, you know, there's a lot of stories like that with, you know, women who worked for a long time, did really good science, but just were never recognized for it at the time.
Yeah.
So should we not expect like a Jane Goodall doll anytime soon?
Jane Goodall would be great.
Well, she's a bit Looney Tunes these days, but.
So for our first three, we had to stick to this constraint of historical figures. But she's an amazing role model too, and a lot of girls know her name, and she would be a great doll. But we have to get her permission, right? So maybe this blows up big enough, and she notices, and she's like, "Hey, Miss Possible, I would love to be your next doll." Wouldn't that be fantastic? So let's hope that some of this reaches her.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little about, so we've talked about Marie Curie, but who are the other dolls that you're going to be launching to start with?
Yeah. So the next one, doll number 2, is Bessie Coleman. She also has a great story. She also overcame a lot. And so diversity is important for us and for the girls we're trying to reach, in the sense that we're not like profiling, right? But you most connect to someone who looks like you, which is why we're presenting girls with girls and not like male role models necessarily yet. But an African-American girl growing up might not connect as well to a Marie Curie doll, just because she needs to see or wants to see someone like her. And we're trying to represent a lot of different backgrounds and people and show that no matter what you look like or who you are, you can reach your dreams. You can go out and be empowered and do what you got to do. You know? So Bessie, in addition to being amazing and being an aviator and giving us a lot of opportunities to have some really cool activities with aviation and flight and air in general, she also helps other girls make that connection, and that's important for us.
And then the third person you've got on the list is Ada Lovelace, correct?
Yes. So Ada, she was also an excuse for us to get some cool activities in. So she's really cool, right? But one thing I've learned since I've been in college and doing engineering is that I could have really used some computer science skills. And it's one of those things that just never occurred to me growing up. I think a lot of people get into computer science from the research I've done through video games or through, I know a girl who said she did Neopets, and on Neopets you had to like HTML code your own web page, sort of, or homepage. So that's how she got into coding. A lot of guys play video games and try to mod their video games. I didn't have that and grew up with that. So computer science, it just never even occurred to me that it's something I could do or would do or that would be important ever. So that's another thing that we're trying to place in front of girls early on, and another opportunity that they could see, because it's really cool problem solving, and I think it could make for a really fun app. Yeah.
So I asked my friends on Facebook, like people who are in science or scientists, if they could give me ideas. And so I have a list like Rachel Carson. Barbara McClintock came up a lot because, you know, she won for P elements and maze, and she was absolutely amazing geneticist. Dorothy Hodgkin, Rosalind Franklin, Caroline Herschel, Mary Anning, Hedy Lamarr, of course, Rita Levi Montalcini, Jane Goodall, like you said, Hildy Mangold, Grace Hopper. Those were a lot of them. And yeah, the people I kept thinking about, especially like Hildy Mangold and Rosalind Franklin, were also females that were scientists that weren't given proper credit for their work, perhaps, because they were scientists at a time when, you know, men really took sort of credit for their discoveries.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought what a great way to turn around something so negative that happened to them and make this something positive for little girls. But yeah.
Right. Rosalind Franklin definitely sticks with me. I remember being in biology class in high school, and when we got to her section, it was just a very small section in the biology book. They talked about, what was it?
Yeah, like tons about Watson, tons about Crick.
Yes, Watson, Crick, right? And there was this huge section, and then there was like one paragraph that said, by the way, this lady discovered the structure of DNA and never got credit for her work. And that really stuck with me ever since high school, just with the frustration of her sort of tragic story. And so giving her a second chance at fame and to inspire girls is important to me. So she might be coming up on the list. Hedy Lamarr also is inspiring to me because she had the opportunity to totally coast on her looks and her acting career, but she had a brain and she used it. And it just, that also says to girls, you don't have to be manly or be girly to do science.
Steven, I don't know what happened. You were just held up at gunpoint for your iPad, but
sorry.
Yeah, Hedy Lamarr is. I mean, for her time, she was especially like such an anomaly. Yeah. James Watson in his office has a picture of Hedy Lamarr, kind of like one of these. I don't know if they dated or something, but it's kind of weird.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting though.
But yeah, another important thing for us is to show girls that there's no problem with being girly, and there's no problem with being a tomboy, and there's no problem with, dressing or acting however you want to, as long as you don't let it get in the way of your own personal dreams. Getting wrapped up in what is a girl and what is a boy, and what is a man's career and a woman's career. It's not. This is for everyone, no matter how we identify, and one of the important things about diversity in the workplace or in a career is that we all come to it with different viewpoints and different backgrounds and can apply that to problem solving. So no matter how you dress, you can change the world. We've gotten a little bit of feedback about the characters wearing dresses. They did wear dresses in their time in history. There's no problem with dresses, and there's no problem with pants. And despite the dresses, they still did really incredible things. So, yeah.
One of the most important things about dolls wearing dresses is that it's easy for little kids to change their clothes. Like a lot of the reason Barbie has the dimensions that she does, even though she doesn't fit what a human body looks like, she has those dimensions because you can get her clothes on and off. Which is important when you're a child and you want to change your doll's outfit.
That's actually, I'd like to jump in on that because that's actually something that, so I showed this to my wife, who's a primary school teacher, and she routinely teaches kids, 5 to 8, and she really liked the concept of it, but she was worried that the dolls were too prescriptive, that they wouldn't fit into children's play styles because children's play styles can be very imaginative. And they need to be able to fit the doll into various roles. Like the doll has to be just as good at being an archaeologist as, you know, pretending to go to prom or something like that, you know, because their play styles, they vary so much. And if it's one note, then they tend to lose interest quickly and drop it. And so, I was wondering if you guys have like workshopped this with children. Have you actually, focus grouped it with them? Had them playing with it, how they respond to it?
Yeah. So we don't have a physical doll. We have our model, and that is at the manufacturer, and they're modeling it and getting ready to do production. But we haven't had one in our hands, except the one that we took off the shelf. I think it was a Merida doll. We cut her hair, we dressed her up like Amelia Earhart, and we did take her in front of some girls. We really embrace the concept of imaginative play, and it's that imaginative play that leads to girls making these connections and pretending that they themselves could do this. But when you change a doll's clothes or you change her role, I guess that's also the power of a child's imagination, is even though she's dressed a certain way or has a certain name, she can be anything. I played with veterinarian Barbie. I had a veterinarian Barbie growing up, and she wasn't always veterinarian Barbie. Sometimes, I don't know, she took on a lot of different roles in my own play, and building off that, I'm interested to see actually how it's received. That is an interesting point. And I don't know if we've totally addressed that. We're kind of counting on the girls to use their imaginations and expand on that.
Yeah, it's a really interesting question, because you make the jump that these girls want to put their dolls in dresses and make them go to prom. But when boys grow up with G.I. Joes and He-Man, their toys always fight. Right? They're there to fight, and they fight with each other. And it's really interesting that you think that we take our dolls to prom. I'll tell you what I did with my Barbies.
Actually, that wasn't me. I didn't say that. That was my wife.
Yeah, throw her.
I'm relaying her reaction to it as a teacher, as someone who spends a lot of time with young kids, and she was worried.
But I think that's something. I think that's something that's specific to the dolls. I think I don't know. I mostly had my Barbies reenact horror movies, to be honest, which tells you maybe a lot about my childhood. But it's true, when you bought equestrian Barbie or veterinarian Barbie, and that was the place that you had for them, you were more likely to have that Barbie interacting with the playset. When you changed her outfit, she was just normal, whatever, doll in different clothes. Yeah, I don't know. It would be interesting, because you have, the app that goes with it and all the activities. So I don't know if girls would take a bunch of them and play together like they're, doing an archaeological dig because they're scientist Barbies, or scientist dolls, sorry.
So yeah. She was worried about that. She worries that the very strong message of the doll, which she really agrees with and she really likes, but she feels that it may overwhelm the imaginative aspect, and they may not be able to get over that and may drop the doll because of that. I don't know whether that's true or not, and she doesn't either. It was just a concern she has from seeing children play a lot.
Yeah, that's definitely worth noting. Can I talk to your wife?
Is your wife there? Could you leave and bring your wife?
She's on an airplane to Toronto at the moment.
Contact information, seriously, because we're still learning. We're engineers and college students, and we're still interacting with kids, and we're still learning about the marketplace and how kids play. So she would actually have some pretty interesting feedback for us, and I'd love to hear it and see how we can maybe remedy it or lessen it, or if it would really be a problem.
Sure, I'll get it to you offline.
Yeah, thanks.
So you bring up a good point there, that that you and your co-workers, co-creators, amazing personalities there. You guys are still college students and not finished your undergrad yet, and then you've come up with this program or this idea and are running it through. And I hear there were gummy worms involved at the creation of it. Do you want to run us through a little bit about how you came up with this project and how you've taken it and are finding time to make this huge project run?
Yeah, okay. First comment on where it came from and then how I make the time or fail to make the time to make it happen. So Supriya has actually graduated. She's taking a full-time job in Indianapolis. She's working for Eli Lilly, a pharmaceutical company. But we met in an entrepreneurial living learning community, which is, they throw a bunch of students who have similar views and interests in a dorm and see what happens. It's like a social experiment. And I guess it worked on us. So Supriya was my RA, my resident advisor, so she always had her eye on me and I couldn't really screw up because we were friends. But we were also in the Society of Women Engineers, specifically on the outreach committee. And so we spent a lot of time going into classrooms and doing science and engineering experiments with girls and boys and classes in general. And as we were doing these experiments and learning about how these students are receiving engineering, we kind of noted that girls didn't always pick it up. They were interested in the classroom and then never really saw themselves in that field. And we were like, why? Why don't girls pursue engineering or STEM or other aspirational career roles, even though they show this interest in it? So we dug a little deeper, did a lot of research, talked to a lot of people, and sort of what we arrived at is that when girls are growing up, you're surrounded by media, constantly intaking TV or music or radio and hearing these messages. And girls grow up, the images they see or hear about are princesses and fairies and ponies and actresses and singers, and those are like on TV. And boys grow up seeing presidents and businessmen and scientists and law enforcement, and that really affects how girls see their options as they're growing. So there's that, and also there's something of a confidence gap. So there's data that shows that up through 4th grade, or the grade always changes, girls are interested in performing very well in math, science, in their classes, and then there comes a point where that drops off, and their interest in STEM drops off. And we think this is because they're starting to absorb more of those messages in a social way about their role and what they're supposed to be good at. But it really kills their confidence when they think they're not supposed to be good at math. And so that's where the app comes in for us, is building those skills, building that confidence. So they see, okay, I can make a chemical reaction happen in my kitchen, why can't I do it at home or in real life? So that's where the product came in, was inspiring girls, kind of intercepting those media messages and providing something better to look at, better, different. I don't know. It's not just STEM for us. It's about girls going out and pursuing their dreams, whatever they may be. If you want to be an actress, go for it, but do it. If you want to be scientists, do it. And there should be nothing that holds you back based on your gender and based on our cultural, ideological messages. That's just not fair. So that's where the product came from. We're college students, yes. So this idea happened in Supriya's dorm room. We had a mentor who kind of identified us as problem solvers and future entrepreneurs. So the entrepreneurial aspect kind of came before Miss Possible, in the sense that our mentor said, you have to enter this business plan competition. I don't care what you enter it with, but you have to enter this business plan competition. So we looked at the problems that we cared about, which was this women in STEM issue, and we said, okay, we're going to solve it. Okay, how do we do that? So we got the gummy worms out. That's where the gummy worms came in. is there was like a little dining hall thing downstairs, and we loved gummy worms, and they were apparently gummy worms are good for creativity, stimulating creative juices. And as we were going through our bags, plural, we came up with the idea for Miss Possible. And I think a lot of that session was actually spent on the name. Names are really hard. Names were very hard. And we started out as Supergirl and then decided there would be too many trademarking issues. Miss Possible came later. How do we make the time? I answered this before. I think the answer to this question is we don't. Or there's not necessarily time to make. It's a priority, right? And we're students, and we're heavily involved at school, and we want to make this startup work. And it's not a sense of where is the time, it's a sense of where can you pull it from? What are your priorities? We had a good friend who always preached the B average, in the sense that if you have a 4.0, you're probably doing something wrong, in the sense that...
Hey.
No, but like especially in engineering, you know.
Well, if academia is your priority, then yeah, have a 4.0. But we were looking to put this product out into the world, and we kind of had to weigh what was important to us there. And turns out what was important to us was helping girls change the world and changing the world in general. So my GPA definitely dropped a little bit this past year as we were developing and working on it, but it's worth it for me to make something, to build something that makes an impact. So time is what you make it.
That's an inspired answer. I'm going to give you a lot of credit for that. I fully agree with you. So how are you guys making it possible now? So you've got an Indiegogo campaign going on. Can you tell people about how they can get involved and help make your work come and be a possibility for the next generation of kids growing up?
Absolutely. You can find our Indiegogo campaign online and make a contribution, or spread the word. So the reason we're asking for $75,000 on Indiegogo is because that is what we need in order to put these into production. And if we don't get that, they pretty simply can't get produced. So it's critical for us to reach that goal and make this happen. So contributions always help, but spread the word. Tell everyone, share it with your friends. Tell Jane Goodall so she can be the next doll.
How many more days do you have fundraising?
Not a lot. 18?
How many is 18 days?
Yeah. I'll check the campaign page. I think it's 17 now.
17. Mm-hmm. And then yesterday you guys were up to $45,000. What are you at today?
$52,195. That went up.
Right.
That's good. But we still have a long way to go.
Yeah. And so the perks of pledging this money, you can get, first production for the Marie Curie doll, or you can get, the Bessie Coleman doll, or all three of them, birthday parties. There's all kinds of really great perks to get on this depending on what you pledge.
Mm-hmm. So it's not, if the message of inspiring girls isn't enough for you, you can get some cool stuff out of it.
Yeah.
I like the fact that you guys included a donated doll function. So I personally don't have a lot of use for a Marie Curie doll, but I'd be happy to donate one to a useful party. So I think that's a really good idea for your guys' campaign.
Yeah, that's really smart. I'd sent it to a bunch of my friends, and especially friends with kids, and I'd written, "Do you want your daughter to become a scientist or marry Ken?" People were like, "God, when you put it that way," like, obviously.
Ken might be a hunk.
He might, but being, Marie Curie is a lot cooler than living in the dream house.
Right. I think we can dream a little bigger.
Yeah.
I got an email from Pinterest the other day that it was just one of their advertising emails, like every girl's dream, an organized closet. It was like, my closet isn't very organized, but
That's not my dream.
Yeah. I don't want to email Pinterest. I was listening. That was dumb.
But we'll have to take on Pinterest next time. But how can people follow along with the Miss Possible campaign, and where you guys go from here? Do you guys have a Twitter account or blogs and stuff like that?
We have everything. We have our website, which is updated very frequently. We have Twitter and Facebook. Definitely like our Facebook page. I do a lot of updates from that, and I think we just recently added Instagram, where you can get some sneak peeks of the designs coming out from our studio. Our like desk. But
call it a studio. It sounds better.
Studio. Yeah.
And all this stuff can be accessed from your website, which is bemisspossible.com.
Correct.
Awesome. Well, we got to wrap it up there, but I want to thank you very much, Janna, for coming in and talking to us today about this. And I think we all want to wish you the best of luck with the rest of your crowdfunding campaign. For everybody listening that's at home, you should all be going to the Miss Possible campaign. We'll put a link on our website at breakingbio.com so that you can get there and donate money as you wish. And be sure to spread the word for Miss Possible, and let us know when you do by tagging us on Twitter at Breaking Bio. Thanks again, Janna, and I hope we'll talk to you, everybody, in the fall.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.